Welcome to this presentation on the 3-Hour Authority, using the science of heuristic authority positioning to become a recognized expert in the digital attention span economy. You know, as an entrepreneur, are you tired of feeling like you're invisible to your target audience? I understand that struggle to grow your business, and let's face it, it's hard to keep up with what's effective in marketing these days because we see all those shiny objects that look like the perfect solution to increase your revenue. And I know you're tired of launching a marketing initiative only to hear crickets. Heck, the sound of crickets is really relaxing on a lazy summer evening, but not as a result of a marketing campaign. Hi, I'm Mike Saunders. I'm the author of Amazon best-selling book, Authority Selling. I'm a contributor to the Huffington Post. I'm an adjunct marketing professor at 4 universities and a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, which is an invitation-only community for the world's most influential business coaches. You know, my strategy in helping my clients is very simple. I help you break out of obscurity. This is really what's holding you back from prospects seeing you as the obvious choice, and it works to pre-sell you before they even connect for the first time. And as we go through this workshop today, I will guide you through a massive mindset shift that will allow you to quickly and easily become the hero to your clients and prospects and help them transform their lives. So who is this presentation for? Entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches and consultants. If you're a service professional, you know, so many times we feel like our business cannot do a certain marketing strategy because no one else in the business is doing it. You don't see your competitors doing this, but that's the reason why we need to do something fresh with authority positioning to help us be the obvious choice to our clients. And it really is a blue ocean marketing strategy, meaning not many people doing it, so it's that nice, smooth, without those choppy waves. So if you're a speaker, if you're a trainer, if you're a chiropractor, real estate, health and wellness, legal, in the finance industry, that's a really competitive market. If you look at any of these bullet points, so many of these would benefit from what we're going to be teaching you today. You know, we live in a digital attention span economy. What it takes to stand out in the marketplace has really changed dramatically over the last few years because competition for your prospects' attention is fierce. Look at this. Attention span in 2000 was 12 seconds, and now in 2015, which is just a few years ago, 8.25 seconds. That's almost a 50% drop in attention span. And you know how that works. You get text messages, instant messages, Facebook messages. And as the popularity of online digital media has increased, the attention span of consumers has decreased. Consumers are bombarded daily, hourly, and by the minute with text messages, emails, social media, YouTube subscription updates, right? Even Twitter's 140-word character limit, which now has increased up to 280 words, that platform is preferred by our president of the United States currently. And we see that happening every single day. You know, most of us grew up in an era of the microwave mindset. Over the last 40 years, consumers have been conditioned to place a high value on instant gratification. Instant availability has replaced the 2 to 4 week delivery time frame. Who remembers buying things out of catalogs, or when you order on something on TV, it wasn't going to be there the next day. It was always 2 to 4 weeks for delivery or 4 to 6 weeks for delivery, right? Consumers just won't stand for that now. Once we make a decision to buy, we want it now. If you think about how our shopping experience has changed over the last few years, do you remember going to Blockbuster to rent a movie? Or browsing through a record store or bookstore? Up until recently, you could spend an afternoon or a day in a record store or a bookstore. Am I right? We took our time to make our buying decisions compared to today. With the growth and popularity of on-demand services like Netflix, iTunes, Amazon, these experiences have been replaced and even eliminated. This is a huge part in creating this digital attention span economy. And our decision-making process really has gone from minutes and even seconds rather than this, nice leisurely half a day shopping trip where we could go out and just pick what we wanted to pick and have fun with it. We tend to have this very short attention span. And even though the time to make decisions about our purchases has dramatically decreased, The decision process going on in our brain has not really changed much. That decision process still involves our emotions and subconscious. And the emotions and subconscious is what helps us decide on what we choose to buy. But the conscious mind looks for reasons to justify the buy. That's really important to keep in mind. Rational justification is what the conscious mind looks for. In the days of being able to shop in a Blockbuster or a record store or the bookstore, when we could see it, touch it, smell it, taste it, it was easier for the conscious mind to find reasons to justify those emotional decisions. But with Netflix, iTunes, Amazon, we miss a lot of that experience and the opportunity for our emotions and subconscious to provide our conscious mind reasons to justify the things we want to buy. That's where these trust triggers come into play. This is a powerful concept, and I want you to keep this in mind as we move through this teaching today. Trust triggers have replaced the role of those experiences. You might have noticed when you're on Netflix and you see things like trending now or popular on Netflix. You'll see the what's hot section on iTunes, and on Amazon you'll see customers who bought this item also bought these items, right? These are trust triggers. It's almost like social proof, but it's the next step up. It's trust triggers. You're going to start noticing these so many more times after today. It's kind of like that part in our brain called the reticular activator, which is once you've been exposed to something, you'll start noticing it all around. And you might have seen the what's hot or the trending now, but you're going to start noticing these things as now powerful trust trigger and buying decision triggers. So what these trust triggers are doing is creating what's called the bandwagon effect. When we see rational justification and our emotions and subconscious can't provide any other logical reasons to support our decision, the conscious mind often defaults to placing its trust in the crowd. The reason is, hey, I'm justified in my decision because it's what others with similar interest have done. So when we can't touch it and we can't see it, we can't feel it, our minds default to that bandwagon effect. Trust triggers give the conscious mind reasons to rationally justify emotional decisions. And if you think about it, trust triggers are pretty much the only thing that stands between Uber and hitchhiking, right? As passengers, we're trusting what others have said about an Uber driver. And as a driver, you're trusting what other drivers have said about this passenger. What would normally be an illogical decision to get into a stranger's car, our brain is able to justify that as a rational decision because of simple trust triggers. Emotions and the subconscious also decide who we buy from. Our conscious minds look for reasons to justify that decision. We look at sellers and product reputations. We want to know if this person understands my problem. Is this person qualified to solve my problem? These are issues that our mind looks to resolve when making a decision on who we buy from. And authority trust triggers can provide that justification. And this is where this powerful mindset shift is starting to get developed. I want you to notice this because we're laying this foundation that authority trust triggers can provide this justification because people want to work with experts. Authority trust triggers position you as a recognized expert in your field, making it easy for the conscious mind to justify the decision to work with you, even if it costs more. With authority trust triggers, you talking about you doesn't work. Authority trust triggers are based on an authority heuristic, enabling others to determine your expert status for themselves. Just like it doesn't work when the Uber driver comes up and says, hey, you can trust me, I'm a good driver, I'm not dangerous, you'll be safe with me. You're just telling people that you're an expert doesn't work either. It sounds simple, but it's super important because what stands in the way many times of our subconscious mind being able to provide the conscious mind reasons to justify our decision. Heuristics are unconscious ways that we process information more quickly than if we were to think about it consciously. The brain takes mental shortcuts to save time by thinking logically about these things. There are many ways, like cognitive biases, that our brains have developed during the history of mankind. Right? You know, we've come up with these preconceived cognitive biases that really guide how we think and manage information in a faster way than rational thinking. And the vast majority of our daily decisions are taken up by heuristic decision making. Ultimately, by relying on experts or authorities, we're hitchhiking, so to speak, by means of their intelligence, and we become very susceptible to influence. So, what do we want to do? We want to make it easy for others to call you an expert. Others, not us. Here are the top 5 expert myths. You have to call yourself the expert. An expert knows more than everyone else. An expert is the very best in their field. It takes years to build expert reputation and be recognized as an authority. I'm not ready to put myself out there as an expert. These are myths, and they're very common, and you may have found yourself kind of nodding or agreeing internally to 1 or 2 or 3 of these myths. But let's bust these myths, and we do this by creating the authority mindset. And this is a super powerful concept, and I want you to really stick with me here and pay attention to this, because whether you move forward with working with me and my agency at all, I think that you're going to realize a few key points here that are going to help you in your business moving forward no matter what. And authority is not about calling yourself an expert. When we try to convince others we're the expert, it's hard not to focus on how we compare to other experts in our field. And the fact is, there's always someone out there better and smarter. Calling yourself the expert really can feel uncomfortable, and it can trigger what's called the imposter syndrome, the fear of being found out, and it creates anxiety about the competition. It can cause a lack of confidence in ourselves compared to others. And if we can't convince ourselves that we're the expert, we won't be successful in convincing others that we're the expert. Authority is about being an educator and advocate. We focus on the success of our prospects and customers. We empathize, hard to spit that one out. We empathize with our prospects and customers. We give value to our prospects and customers, and we solve problems for them, and we deliver results. And when you think about it that way, you feel a whole lot different and a whole lot more confident. This is what it means to be an expert. Here's a quick exercise. Close your eyes and imagine that you're speaking to a room full of your prospects and peers, your perfect target audience, and say this out loud. I'm the expert in the field of, fill in the blank with whatever your field is. And think about how that feels. Go ahead and say it. I am the expert in the field of. Now, I want you to do this. I want you to say, I'm an educator and an advocate for the success of my customers. Say that. How does that make you feel? Which one did you have the most confidence saying? Which one do you have the most confidence in being? That's a huge mindset shift. So let's take a look at these celebrity experts. You probably recognize at least 1 or 2 of them. Do they constantly call themselves the expert? Nope. Are they the smartest and best in their fields? Probably not. But are they recognized as educators and advocates for the success of others? Absolutely they are. The authority mindset, when we stop and trying to convince people that we are the expert, and we focus on being a champion for our customers, we make it easy for others to call us the expert. So now let's define our mission. Let me ask you a question. What do you do? If you're at a party or a networking event and someone walks up and says, "So, what do you do?" What does your answer sound like? Most people begin their reply with, "Oh, well, I'm a business coach, or I own a fitness boot camp, or I make websites." When we do that, we can't help but to make the conversation all about us and our job, right? Authorities don't have a job. They have a mission. And when asked, "What do you do?" translate that question to be, who do you help? Who's the person that you have the most success helping? Who do you enjoy most helping? Who is your perfect prospect? Next, what do you do to help them accomplish? See how this now is shifting in your thinking about your business. Rather than a job, it's a mission, because you are then that guide, that coach that helps your prospects transform whatever they're doing for a living to their customers. So what are you helping them accomplish? What's the big outcome that they want to accomplish that you can help them with? And how do you help them accomplish it? How are you able to get them from point A to point B? How are you able to fill in the gaps of where they're at now to where they want to be or need to be? And then, why do you help them? What's behind your drive? What led you to do what you do and help the people you help? Let's look at an example. We've probably all heard of Richard Simmons, and if you haven't, Google him, right? So why talk about Richard Simmons? Because he's not someone that fits the typical definition that we have for an expert. Richard Simmons is one of the most well-known fitness gurus of all time. In fact, he's iconic. Yet, he's never appeared to be in the best shape. He's never had a beach body. There's probably hundreds or even thousands of fitness experts that know more than him. And the fit part of being a fitness guru, right? He's just a guy. But millions of people pay Richard Simmons for fitness advice. So who does Richard Simmons help? He helps overweight men and women who feel they might be beyond help. They aren't interested in beach bodies. They're concerned about their health and quality of life. And why does Richard Simmons help them accomplish this? He helps take control of their own fitness destiny and finally lose weight and improve their health. How does Richard Simmons help them? Well, by making his programs fun and energizing. He motivates them to eat better and exercise at their own level. Why does Richard Simmons help them? Well, he grew up on a diet of lard and desserts at the French Quarter of New Orleans. He weighed 268 pounds when he graduated high school. He tried everything from bizarre diets to laxatives, and he didn't want a muscle body. He just didn't want to be fat and tired anymore. He finally won the battle by adopting a lifestyle of balance, moderate eating, and exercise. And when he moved to LA, he couldn't find a health club that wasn't geared to people who were already in great shape. And he felt intimidated and judged. He knew that there were others who felt the exact same way. And that's when he decided to create a safe haven from everyone overweight and obese to seniors to the physically challenged, where they'd be welcomed with open arms. He was determined to establish an innovative place to provide motivation and support for those that needed it most. And that's his background. It's what drives him. It's what led him to do what he does. And that story is important. And using that information, this is what his mission could look like. Richard Simmons is on a crusade to reach out to the millions of overweight men and women who are losing their health and hope to obesity. Delivering a serious message with his trademark humor, Simmons has helped millions of overweight men and women lose more than 3 million pounds by adopting sensible, balanced eating programs and exercise regimes that are energetic, full, and fun and motivating. Simmons weighed 260 pounds when he graduated high school. After trying and failing at several diets and weight loss programs, he finally took control of his own weight by adopting a lifestyle of balance, moderate eating, and exercise. When Simmons first moved to Los Angeles, he was unable to find a health club that wasn't geared toward people who were already in shape. He felt intimidated and judged. He knew that others had to feel the same. And this inspired Simmons to create a safe haven that would welcome people of all shapes and sizes with open arms, where he could provide motivation and support to everyone from the overweight and obese to seniors and the physically challenged, those who needed it most. So how does that feel, right? So look at the difference between just telling facts and then getting inside of the mind of your target audience. So what's your crusade? Take the time to define your mission and why it's important for you and the people you help. Answer these questions. Who do you help? What do you help them accomplish? How do you help them? Why do you help them? And when you've answered these, you've come up with an incredibly powerful piece of content to let people know your mission. So now let's look at step 3, stepping into our authority. Here's a great quote by Oscar Wilde. There's only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. So let's give them something to talk about, right? We can do that by creating authority trust triggers with a method I call an authority positioning portfolio, or the Dave Ramsey effect. Let's use Dave Ramsey as an example here. Thanks to Dave Ramsey and other celebrities and entrepreneurs, being a published author or being interviewed as a guest expert or hosting a radio show or podcast instantly changes the mind's perception. Even without knowing who the person is, or reading their book, or listening to their show or interviews, authority recognition is assigned by the conscious mind because of the strong association with celebrity status. Let's think about it. The speakers who give TED Talks are thought of as being credible experts and authority in what they do, right? If you go to the TED YouTube channel and you look at the homepage, chances are you might not recognize more than a handful of the people out there. In fact, you might not recognize any of the people who are on there. But because of that third-party recognition, we still associate them with being an expert and an authority. That's an authority positioning portfolio and authority trust triggers in action. So when you see someone being interviewed on TV or a radio show or a podcast, even if you've never heard of that person, you don't recognize their name or face maybe. You do recognize them as being an authority. Why? Because being interviewed is an authority trust trigger based on third-party recognition and validation. And when we go to Amazon and we look at the bestseller list, even if you don't recognize the names of the authors or their book, by default, our subconscious minds take that trust trigger and it gives our conscious mind a rational justification for considering that person as an expert. Why are these authority trust triggers so powerful? Because your subconscious mind isn't processing you telling them that you're the expert. Your subconscious mind is processing, hey, this person is a published author on the subject that I need help with, which allows the conscious mind to determine your expert status on its own. That's the authority heuristics at work, and that's the power of authority trust triggers. So you might be saying, well, how can I do this? I'm no Dave Ramsey, right? You know what I say? Dave Ramsey is no you. If you can truly help people, and what I'm about to share with you today can change the way you think about your own authority forever. And here's another great quote by E.O. Wilson, the father of social biology. We are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. The world will run by synthesizers, people able to put together the right information at the right time, think critically about it, and make important choices wisely. That's exactly what the 3-Hour Authority platform and authority trust triggers are based on. Your best prospects are most influenced by concise, results-driven messages. They can be consumed quickly. They can be delivered by a recognized authority. Now, we begin to recognize the purpose and intent behind these authority trust triggers in your authority positioning portfolio when we realize that TED Talks are timed precisely at 18 minutes. Now, this is another big thing, and you're going to start noticing these things. You know, what is the significance of 18 minutes? Or a TV and radio interview segment that are 5 to 12 minutes long, right? They're not hours and hours. And even Amazon has bestseller lists dedicated to books that only take 15 minutes to read. Now you understand why your messages should be bite-sized, results-driven, easy to consume, easy to share, and most important, easy to create. William Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. Well, brevity plus recognition equals authority and profit in the digital attention span economy. So let's move to step 4. Start by answering one single question. Digital attention span content is not about dumping a ton of information on your prospects. It's about providing a solution and encouraging their action. And we do that by creating our own authority trust triggers, starting with a lead magnet book. Now, before you start getting overwhelmed with the thought of writing a book, I want you to think about this. The Art of War, right? It's written by a 5th century BC Chinese general named Sun Tzu. He was considered one of the most brilliant military strategists and tacticians in history. You've probably heard of the book, right? Now, the strategies in the book have been applied in the world of business, law, finance, politics, and sports. Many executives, CEOs, and successful entrepreneurs consider it one of the most valuable books in their library. But guess what? The Art of War is only 64 pages. I want you to think about something else. It's really about the art of less is more. When you look at these very popular books from authors like Charles Dickens, Ernest Hemingway, George Orwell, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 12 Angry Men, just to name a few, many of these books have been turned into movies. They're all considered classics. They stand the test of time, right? They also share something else in common. They're all less than 100 pages. They are considered classics and stand the test of time because people actually take the time to sit down and read them. They're not intimidating. You don't have to invest a lot of time to get through these books, but they are tremendously rewarding when you do. That's what we want to do with our digital attention span content. We want to create a concise, results-driven authority lead magnet. We're going to create problem-solution recipes. Using the cookbook recipe method is one of the most simple and quickest way to put together a concise, results-driven book, and it allows your prospects to take action. We're going to use a cookbook as an example. So the problem that this cookbook addresses is college students with little time, money, or cooking experience need alternative to cafeteria and fast food, right? So the solution it provides, how to cook simple, fast meals on a tight budget. The recipes in that solution are how to make 5-ingredient breakfast, or how to make 5-ingredient lunch, or how to make 5-ingredient dinner. There's a simple breakdown of a problem solution recipe authority magnet. Identify the problem, define solutions, deliver recipes for solving the problem, and each piece of content should walk your prospect through a simple recipe. Keep it simple. Here's another analogy using a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? We're getting really high tech here. So the problem is a kid needs to feed himself after school without cooking. The solution, make a sandwich. Recipe, how to make a PB&J sandwich. You would take each of the steps in the recipe and expand them and go into more detail. You'd end up with one PB&J recipe in your make a sandwich solution. You turn your prospects' problems of I have a kid that needs to feed themselves after school without cooking, and you provide them a solution. Here's a real estate example. The problem, new landlord wants to learn about dealing with problem tenants. Your solution, eviction. One of the recipes in your solution, how to evict problem tenants without a lawyer. Then you go into step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. Another example for a business attorney or CPA. The problem is an entrepreneur starting a one-person business looking for legal and tax advice. Solution, choose a business structure. Recipe, advantages or disadvantages of an LLC for the solopreneur. The steps of your recipe could be talking about the pros and the cons and the pitfalls. Now, if you're a social media manager and a consultant wants to help using maybe LinkedIn to attract new clients to their target audience, that would be the problem. Consultants want strategies for attracting clients on LinkedIn. One of your solutions might be optimize your LinkedIn profile, and a recipe in that solution, how to write a powerful LinkedIn profile summary. Then you simply walk them through the steps. Are you starting to see how you need to pick one solution to one problem and create simple to follow steps or recipes so that people can follow along? Now, this problem could have multiple solutions. So using this as an example here for the LinkedIn strategy, when you break it down, you might be needing strategies for attracting clients on LinkedIn, or optimizing your profile is just one of the solutions you can help with. And another solution might be to grow your LinkedIn network, or another solution might be to use LinkedIn groups. Each one of those solutions could have multiple recipes involved, so that it gives you a lot of content opportunities. For example, the Optimize Your Profile solution might include recipes for creating a powerful profile summary, or creating an attention-grabbing profile headline, or optimizing your profile photo. If it were to break down maybe how to write a powerful LinkedIn profile summary recipe, it might contain these steps. Don't make it a resume. Write in first person. Speak to your target audience. Say what you stand for and format your summary, right? So, what's one problem that you solve? What's one solution that you provide? Just one solution. It doesn't have to be everything you know on the subject. Remember, we want to be concise and focused. This isn't going to be a complete guide to whatever your business is, but it will still position you as the expert and authority without having to write that 100,000 word encyclopedia. Just identify a common problem that your prospects face. Pick one of the solutions you provide and start with a single recipe and walk through the steps. So continuing with the LinkedIn strategy example, the problem might be need strategies for attracting clients on LinkedIn. We'll focus on the Optimize Your LinkedIn Profile solution, and the recipe we're going to walk through is how to write a powerful LinkedIn profile summary. Then we want to record ourselves as we walk through each one of those recipe steps. You shoot for about 12 minutes, and you'll probably go a little bit longer, but it's okay. Don't stop. Just kind of keep things concise, but don't feel like you have to go on forever and ever. And you start with an overview of the recipe. You might include what's a profile summary, or why is writing a powerful summary even important in the first place, or who looks at the summaries, maybe unknown benefits and pitfalls. That's how you're going to begin that conversation. Then you go to the steps of the recipe. And as you go through the steps of the recipe, be sure to include the answers to these questions as some examples. Why is this important? Assume that is being asked by your prospect, right? Get in the mind of your prospect and assume that they're asking, why is this even important? Just give them a simple but clear answer. Maybe their prospect is thinking, can you give me an example? So you might provide an example of the wrong way as well as the right way, and why it should or shouldn't be done that way. Then provide any special resources they might need to complete this specific step. Then repeat that process for each of the recipe steps that you have. And when you include the answer to these 3 questions for each recipe step, you'll be shocked at how much content, and not just fluff or page fillers, but real actionable results-driven content that you can create. And forget about trying to sound like an expert when you're recording these recipes. Have a normal conversation. Don't say agricultural citrus fruit at the peak of ripeness when you just really mean to say a juicy orange, right? Just be the educator and advocate. Be authentic. And why 12 minutes? Because 12 minutes of speaking will generally produce about 1,500 to 1,700 words. So 60 minutes of speaking will produce 7,500 to 8,500 written words, and that's just with 5 solution recipes. And that keeps it concise and it keeps it tight. And once you record those 5 recipes and have it transcribed and then edited and add your mission, you now have your first authority trust trigger book. Each one of your solutions can be its own lead magnet and trust trigger. Remember, it's about creating concise, results-driven content. And we're not going to write a complete how-to guide to whatever your business is. Don't think that your prospects will think that you're limited in what you know about that subject, because this still positions you as the expert and someone that can give help on even broader subjects. They realize that this is just one element of an overall solution, but they appreciate how tight and concise that it is. And just being that educator and advocate and providing concise, results-driven recipe solutions to their problems, just remember, a confused mind doesn't buy. So once you have your first authority trust trigger, you can use it to apply that Dave Ramsey effect, because we want our prospects and our target audience and even our clients to see us with that vast authority positioning portfolio. Because now you've got something you can publish. You have something you can do radio and podcast interviews around. You have something you can create other trust triggers around, maybe press releases and things like that. You also can turn your authority trust trigger recipe book into a powerful authority lead magnet. You can allow the recipes to open their eyes into even more options and possibilities. This isn't holding back information, right? So just think about this one solution to one problem, and you think, well, there's so much more. Well, right, there is so much more, but you want them to digest this one concise solution that you're providing. So it's really not about holding back information. It's about giving them value, because your best prospects will always want more. Now, here's something to be thinking about, and this is super powerful. This takes it to the next level. Focus study research recently done had asked a group of people, hey, after being referred to a business, what do you do next? And 87% of those people replied they search online to find the company information. Now that's huge, because we might not like to admit it, but people Google us before they contact us. It's just the way it goes, because you and I both do it, right? So think about your prospects that might meet you at a networking function or see you speak maybe on a webinar or teleconference or at a local event, and maybe see one of your Facebook posts or Facebook Lives, anything you do out there. Maybe you have a little call to action, maybe to get them to connect with you. They're Googling you and your business name or your practice name. And the predominant thing they're doing is Googling the name of your company and your name. They're not Googling keywords. You might be paying a search engine optimization company to optimize your website for specific keywords, and that's wonderful, and that's a whole different strategy. But the first thing, the most important thing that you need to be addressing is what people see when they Google you and your company. Because based on the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming concept of framing, a pre-frame is a powerful approach that allows you to strategically and subtly let your target audience know what's going to happen and how they should think about it. And when this is done in advance of them connecting with you, whether it's days or minutes, you're positioned as a credible authority. And research conducted by American social psychologist Stanley Milgram, he discovered that people trust the people they see as experts in their sphere of influence. The power of this concept is that you can become the expert even if you're just starting from scratch, but you need to know how to leverage your knowledge and expertise to become visible to your target audience. And this graphic here just illustrates it so perfectly, because in reality, this ZMOT stands for zero moment of truth. The stimulus might be your target audience having a struggle with figuring out something, whatever your problem that you're solving, right? Get it back to our 30 trust triggers. And they start searching around. They're not Googling for keywords or whatnot. They're Googling for a solution to their problem. Or maybe they were referred to you at a local networking group or church, or some friend referred you. They're Googling your name. This zero moment of truth is what they see online written about you, maybe videos, maybe social proof where people talking positively about you, articles you've written, podcasts you've been interviewed on, and that first moment of truth might be when they actually buy your product, but that doesn't happen until that zero moment of truth. And that's what we're talking about, laying out those digital breadcrumbs, so to speak, so that when people are out there searching your name and your business name, they're seeing credible, powerful, what I call authority positioning assets. Let's take a quick look at what happens when people Google one of my clients, Henry Kaminsky, and he's a branding expert. Well, of course, the first result you see there is his website. That's obvious. You ought to see his website. I hope so. That's great. But then look at these arrows. You see interviews that he's been interviewed on. You see interviews that he's done with his podcast that I produced for him. You see a press release. And now when people are Googling him, his Google resume, so to speak, is speaking volumes even before they connect with him. And let's take another look at another client, Jesse Miller. He's president of Integrity Enterprises. Look at these authority positioning assets. And in this case, they're even positioned above his website, which is great. It doesn't detract from his website. It gives credibility to his brand. How would you feel to know that your prospects see this level of authority positioning about you? I'll wrap up by letting you know that my main goal today was just to bust these 5 expert myths. So before I leave, I'd love to quickly hear your feedback on whether I was successful. So give me a little nod, raise your hand here. Let me ask you, do you still feel like you have to call yourself an expert to be an expert? Do you feel like being an expert, you have to know more than everyone else? Do you feel to be an expert, you have to be absolutely the very best in your field? Does it have to take years to build that expert reputation and to be recognized as an authority? Or do you now know that it can be done much quicker? Do you now feel ready to put yourselves out there? Not as an expert, but as an educator and an advocate for the success of your customers and prospects. That's super important to me. In fact, it's the one requirement I have before taking a client through my 90-day process of launching their authority. They have to let me know they're truly ready to be an educator and an advocate for the success of their customers. So here's the next step. You have 3 options. 1, you could do nothing at all. You don't have to do anything. If you're not ready to make a decision to position your company to get more customers, that's completely fine. And option 2 is you can work with someone else. You can look for a more traditional marketing company and try a few more attempts at the latest shiny objects to see if it gives you the results you're looking for. Or option 3, you can work with me and my agency. And if you're ready to claim your authority and launch your brand in front of the people that need you the most, I'd love to work with you. Love to at least talk with you. To start, let me examine your authority positioning currently and discover what's not working for you or holding you back. And I'll deliver an analysis and a 30-minute strategy call with you, filled with useful information to help you improve. This is a 7-point audit of your current authority position, and it'll uncover so many opportunities. You'll get a custom authority audit scorecard showing you how to be seen as a leading expert and authority in your industry that they're looking to for advice. So I would encourage you, book your authority audit today. Visit authoritypositioningcoach.com. You can read through some of my publications, some of my Forbes articles. You can download a blueprint. You can watch a video or two. And I would encourage you to book that authority audit today.